Dell really wasn't lazy at Computex this year and released a huge amount of new products, but one product that I thought was a little bit overseen was the new Inspiron 157590. And I was looking into the specs of this machine and comparing it to the last generation's Inspiron 15 7000, and the update is crazy. This is going to be one of the most interesting laptops that has ever come out on the market. I think personally it's more interesting than the new XPS 15 that is coming out new for 2019 as well. So let's have a look at the new generation and see why I think it's so interesting and how it compares to last year's Inspiron 15 7000. Here's the product page of the Inspiron 15 7000 series, and first of all I think it looks pretty good. It's not a super advanced design of a laptop, but I think it looks decent. And the webcam is placed up top there, even though the bezels are quite narrow. So it has that in common with the XPS 15 of 2019. I'm more interested in looking at the specs and comparing the specs to last year's model, so I brought up this comparison. This year's model, i5 processor, 8GB RAM, and 512GB SSD. And I brought a relatively similar last year, but it's an i7 processor. It matches as well as possible in price. 8GB of RAM and 512GB SSD. But let's dig a little bit further into this specification. We're going down here and comparing the processors. So last generation we had the i7 8565U processor, and this generation we have the i5 9300H processor. So that means that we're actually moving from a 15-watt CPU up to a 45-watt CPU. So we're not only moving up one generation, we're moving times 3 in TDP. It's gonna mean the laptop is gonna be quite a bit warmer and also have a bit shorter battery life, but the performance difference is gonna be crazy. So that's the first really big difference between the generations. We're moving down to the graphic card, where the last generation was running NVIDIA GeForce MX 250 and the new generation is running NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1650. The difference here is crazy. This is gonna be a graphics card that can run quite heavy video editing, up to 4K video editing with no problem. It's gonna be able to play games, it's gonna be able to run games out on a 144Hz monitor on medium or high settings, whereas this is okay for playing a game on low settings, and I would definitely not try to push it up to like over 140 frames per second just to get a 144Hz experience. So that's also just a crazy difference between these two laptops. If we move further on, we have similar screens. I would probably guess it's the same screen. We have the 8GB RAM, it's DDR4, it's 2666 MHz, so that's the same between the generations. We also have NVMe SSD, 512GB, so that is also the same. Now, I was thinking, when they have pushed this much components into this new laptop, maybe it has a really small battery because they needed to cram a lot of stuff into a relatively small and light chassis. We scroll down a little bit and we find the battery information. So the last generation had a 3-cell battery of 42 watt hour, and the new generation has a 6-cell battery of 97 watt hours. And you can also get it with a 3-cell battery of 56 watt hours. So there's also a huge difference in battery performance, and this upgrade is just starting to look like a dream compared to last year's generation. Maybe it's something with the ports. Maybe the ports are worse this year. Okay, let's compare. Here on the new generation we have HDMI, we have 3 USB 3.1, we have 1 Thunderbolt 3 Type-C port, and then we have headphone jack and we have the power. Here we have memory card reader, we have 2 USB ports, Ethernet port, we have power, we have 1 USB 3.1 Type-C, which is valid for DisplayPort and power, but it's not Thunderbolt 3. 1 USB 3.1 Gen 1 Type A with power share, so essentially there's 3 regular USB port, and also the combo jack for audio for mic and headphones. But it didn't say anything that the new generation has the card reader, but it says down here instead, so it has the micro SD card reader. But what about the weight? Then we have all these really awesome components. We have a larger battery, then the weight must be considerably higher. Oh well, according to the specification, the last generation was at a weight of 1.87, whereas the new generation is starting at 1.59. With this configuration that I chose here with the large battery, I'm quite sure it's going to run heavier than 1.59. So most likely we're looking at a similar weight as 1.87 kilos. But if you choose the smaller battery and you choose the full HD screen, it's going to run you 1.6 kilos, which I find to be completely amazing. It's unbelievable how that can even work. And if we have a look at the different configurations here, you can even run it higher. So you can run Intel Core i7-9750H, which is a 45 watt 6-core CPU. You can also get 16 gigs of RAM, and you can get a 4K 500 nit display. So that's the max configuration. Except that there's not that many differences compared to the other version that I was comparing to. The price is considerably higher in this one. It's 18,500 Swedish crowns, which is equivalent to about 1,800 euros, whereas the model I was comparing with is about 1,300 euros. But then I was thinking, how about the upgrade possibilities? It says here that it comes with a 1 stick of 16 GB RAM, and here 1 8 GB DDR4 RAM. So why are they not running it in dual channel, I was thinking. If there are two, then you should just be able to get the 8 GB model and just slot in another 8 GB module, and then you have 16 GB running in dual channel. Or you buy two 16 GB and you just slot them in and you have 32 GB running in dual channel. Kind of a dream and very similar to one of the high-end XPS 15 configurations. There is a picture that they put up on the sales page that shows the interior of this laptop. Here is the smaller battery. And when you get it with the smaller battery, you also get an SSD bay. So you can slot in a 2.5-inch SSD drive. We have the 2 DIMM slots for RAM. So it comes with one installed, and you can then install another one, or you can replace them both. But what's even more interesting is that this is clearly one SSD here, and then another SSD there. So not only can you slot in 32 gigs of RAM, you can also put in like a 2 or even a 4 terabyte SSD and keep your system SSD. All in all, I think this is a crazy laptop offering. I just think Dell has done something amazing with this kind of laptop. It compares very well to the XPS 15, but it has some of those perks that the XPS 15 lacks. For example, the dual SSDs, the numeric keyboard on the right side, and the webcam that is up on top, which XPS has been lacking up until this generation. When it also adds the Thunderbolt 3 port that Inspiron computers has been lacking before, I think this is quickly approaching the perfect computer. I might go ahead and change my MSI gaming laptop into this one. And if I do, you will for sure see a lot more videos about this computer here on this channel. Because at the moment, I can barely find anything about this computer online. It's available to order, and it says that it's gonna ship within 3 days. But there is basically no information when you're looking for Inspiron 15 7000. So that's all I have to say about Inspiron 15 7000 7590, the new model for 2019. It starts at about 1,100 euros and it goes up to about 1,800 euros. If you want to see more about this computer, please make sure to follow the channel and like this video if you thought the content was interesting. Have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.